From the age of 60, it is common to notice memory lapses, mental fatigue, and a drop in sexual desire. But what few know is that the brain can be reactivated, and that a young mind and high libido go hand in hand. In this video, you'll find out what science has proven about foods that nourish the brain, habits that restore hormonal balance, and natural practices that improve focus, mood, and intimate life after 60. Practical tips, safe strategies, and guidelines that work, especially for those who want to maintain lucidity, pleasure, and vitality in the best phase of life. Watch it to the end and share it with those who deserve to grow old with energy and desire to live. At 60, something changes inside us. It's not just the body that starts to speak louder. It is the silence that settles in the pauses of memory. You open the fridge and forget what you were going to get. He goes to the living room and wonders why he is there. He begins to lose names, small commitments, and even the thread of the conversation. And when you realize, he begins to doubt himself. But there is something that few tell you. This decadence is not inevitable. The brain can indeed stay young, and more than that, it can be the engine of an active, vibrant, and energetic sex life, even after 60. Science today shows that there is a direct connection between mental health, physical disposition, and sexual desire. And it all starts in the same place, in the brain. It is in it that libido is born. It's not just in the blood, nor in the hormones, it's in the mind. When it is alive, active, and stimulated, the body responds. And more importantly, this connection can be cultivated with daily habits, the right foods, and simple attitudes. The first key is in food. What you eat has a direct impact on your cognitive function. And here we are not talking about miraculous recipes, but about conscious choices. One of the most studied compounds in this context is omega-3, present in fish such as salmon, sardines, and mackerel. These good fats are essential for communication between neurons, helping to maintain the fluidity of cell membranes and the production of neurotransmitters such as dopamine and serotonin, which directly influence both mood and sexual appetite. Another golden food is avocado. Rich in monounsaturated fats, it helps maintain vascular health, something fundamental for the brain and also for sexual performance. A well-irrigated brain thinks better. A well-watered body answers better. Beets are another powerful ally. Rich in natural nitrates, it improves blood circulation and enhances the supply of oxygen to the brain. This means more mental clarity and more vigor. A study published in the Journal of Applied Physiology showed that regular consumption of beetroot juice significantly increased brain perfusion in the elderly, with improved executive functions, those responsible for decisions, focus, and memory. And what about red fruits? Strawberries, blueberries, blackberries, small but powerful. Rich in anthocyanins, these antioxidants fight chronic inflammation, one of the silent villains of brain aging. Research from Harvard Medical School points out that regular consumption of these foods is associated with slower cognitive decline, especially in women over 50. In addition, these fruits help in the production of nitric oxide, which also influences vasodilation, an essential element to maintain a healthy erection in men and adequate blood flow in women. But it's not just what you eat, it's how you live. And here comes the second pillar, movement. Walking every day for 30 minutes activates more than the muscles. It stimulates the release of BDNF, the brain-derived neurotrophic factor, a protein that promotes the growth of new neurons. That's right, your brain can still create new connections, and every step you take helps keep your mind sharp. More than that, regular physical activity increases sensitivity to dopamine and endorphins, two neurotransmitters that increase pleasure, disposition, and sexual response. Studies by the National Institute on Aging show that older adults who exercise regularly have higher libido indexes, more satisfying relationships, and less incidence of erectile dysfunction and depression. And here comes a delicate but necessary point, the taboo of desire after 60. For decades, we've been taught to believe that sexuality ages along with the body. But the truth is that it can mature. It can gain deeper nuances, more intense connections. But for that, you need to keep your brain awake, curious, stimulated. One of the most powerful practices in this regard is reading. not only as a hobby, but as a cognitive exercise. Reading activates multiple brain areas, expands vocabulary, strengthens working memory, and creates new synapses. And when you read about topics that arouse desire, romance, or intimacy, you're also reactivating brain pleasure centers. Music is another invaluable ally. Listening to sounds that marked your youth activates the hippocampus, the area responsible for memory, and causes dopamine discharges. It is no coincidence that a simple song can take you back to a specific moment, to a forgotten kiss, to a smell, to a skin. Use this. Create soundtracks for your day. Awaken your memories to ignite your gift. And finally, conscious breathing. Yes, breathing deeply and slowly activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which is responsible for relaxation, digestion, and internal balance. Practicing mindful breathing for 5 minutes a day can reduce levels of cortisol, the stress hormone, and increase testosterone levels, including in the elderly. And this has a direct impact on libido, both in men and women. All of this is within your reach. It is not a magic formula. It is a daily choice. It is deciding, at 60, that the brain is not a device that wears out over time, but a flame that can be fed. That desire is not a phase of youth, but an energy that can be reborn, and that the mind, when well nourished, well cared for, and well loved, is the most sensual organ that exists. The brain, contrary to what many imagine, is not a fixed organ, condemned to slow degeneration over time. It is plastic, adaptable, dynamic, and even at 60 or 70 years old, it is possible to reprogram connections, rekindle circuits, resume forgotten memories. For this, more than the right food and movement is needed. It is necessary to adopt rejuvenating mental habits, and this is where the real renaissance begins. One of the most powerful habits is mindfulness. It is a simple but revolutionary practice to be present in the moment with total awareness of what you feel, think, and perceive. Studies by Harvard Health Publishing show that daily sessions of mindfulness, even short ones, physically modify the brain structure, increasing the thickness of the prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for concentration, decision-making, and emotional regulation. And why does this also impact your libido? Because desire is born in the now. People who live stuck in the past or anxious about the future have more difficulty feeling pleasure. Being present in the touch, in the gaze, in the moment, is one of the greatest aphrodisiacs of maturity. Another essential habit is active memory training. It's not about memorizing lists, but about challenging the brain every day. Learning a new word, a different recipe, solving a small puzzle, changing the routine of the path to the market. These small challenges create neuroplasticity, which is the brain's ability to form new connections. And the more connections, the more vitality. Research conducted by the Rush Memory and Aging Project revealed that seniors who maintained the habit of learning something new weekly had a reduction of up to 48% in the risk of developing Alzheimer's. The key here is stimulus. The brain needs to be provoked, like a muscle that needs loading, and the more you train, the stronger he gets. But we can't ignore a crucial point: unresolved emotions. At 60 years old, many carry poorly healed stories, old betrayals, unelaborated losses, unspoken fears. All of this takes up space in the brain, and not just emotional space. Science already proves that poorly resolved traumas affect the executive function of the brain, impair attention, and even reduce the volume of the hippocampus. Worse, they accumulate tension that manifests itself in the body, including blocking sexual desire. Therefore, emotional forgiveness, even if silent, is an act of brain health. To forgive is not to forget. It is freeing the brain from carrying the weight of what can no longer be changed. It is to allow space for new experiences, new bonds, and new forms of pleasure. And here comes something even deeper: the power of human touch. Many seniors go days without receiving a single hug. No contact, no heat. Touch, even if slight, activates receptors in the skin that send signals to the brain, releasing oxytocin, the so-called bonding hormone. This substance not only improves mood, but also reduces fear, fights loneliness, and strengthens emotional bonds. It is also directly linked to arousal and sexual response. Therefore, touching and being touched is not a luxury. It is biological necessity. A long handshake, a real hug, a caress on the face. These are gestures that rejuvenate, that awaken, that make the brain remember that he is still alive. And speaking of awakening, we cannot ignore the role of sleep. Sleeping well is one of the greatest natural remedies for the brain and desire. During deep sleep, especially the REM stage, the brain performs its cleaning, eliminating toxins, consolidating memories, and regulating hormones. Melatonin, produced naturally at night, helps not only sleep, but regulate the sexual and reproductive cycle. But for many, sleep no longer comes easily. The good news is that small changes make a big difference. Reducing blue light from electronics before bed, taking a warm bath, practicing deep breathing, and maintaining a regular bedtime are all simple habits that restore the circadian rhythm and improve the quality of rest. And with sleep up to date, desire awakens more strongly. And then we come to a special point. The brain loves novelty. Everything that is new, a short trip, an impromptu dance, an unexpected encounter, releases dopamine. And dopamine is the main neurotransmitter of motivation and pleasure. Without it, the libido falls asleep. With it, everything pulsates again. Therefore, if there is one piece of advice that we can give with scientific basis and emotional truth, it is this: seek the new. It doesn't matter how old you are. Learn a new language. Take a class on something you've always been curious about. Write a letter. Listen to a song of a different style. Be surprised, because every surprise rekindles the brain. And a lit brain, it also rekindles desire. To understand how to keep the mind young and desire alive after 60, we need to talk about hormones. They are the body's messengers. They carry orders, coordinate functions, and balance our emotions. And even though aging brings natural drops in hormone levels, there is a lot that can be done to stimulate their production in a natural, safe, and effective way, mainly through specific foods and accessible daily practices. In men, the main hormone that interferes with desire, mood, and energy is testosterone. After 50, their levels drop progressively, which is normal. But the sharp drop can bring symptoms such as constant tiredness, loss of muscle mass, difficulties maintaining erection, lack of motivation, and even sadness for no reason. In recent years, clinical studies have proven that it is possible to naturally increase testosterone with simple changes. The first step is breakfast. Researchers at the University of Michigan demonstrated that men with adequate vitamin D levels had significantly higher levels of testosterone. The recommendation: sunbathe for at least 15 minutes a day without sunscreen, or include foods rich in vitamin D such as salmon, egg yolks, and liver. In addition, zinc is a fundamental mineral for the production of this hormone. It is present in foods such as pumpkin seeds, chickpeas, and walnuts. A study published in the Nutrition Journal found that men with zinc deficiency had up to 30% reduction in testosterone, while supplementation restored levels in less than 3 months. Another powerful food is turmeric. Rich in curcumin, it fights chronic inflammation and improves hormone function. A daily pinch, along with a source of fat such as olive oil or avocado, enhances its absorption. And the good news? Curcumin also protects the brain against premature aging, strengthening memory and preventing degenerative diseases. In women, the great challenge of maturity lies in the balance between estrogen and progesterone. The drop in these hormones affects vaginal lubrication, sensitivity, sleep quality, and mood. But the female body is wise, and it responds quickly when nourished with the right compounds. The so-called phytohormones, found in foods such as flaxseed, organic soybeans, and black beans, mimic the effect of estrogen in the body. This helps to soothe the symptoms of menopause and reignite craving. A Mayo Clinic study showed that women who consumed flaxseed daily for 12 weeks reported improved sleep, mood, and sexual appetite. Another great female ally is magnesium, present in dark green vegetables, chestnuts, and bananas. It participates in more than 300 biochemical reactions in the body, including the production of serotonin, which regulates mood, and melatonin, which regulates sleep. A calm brain, a light mind, a rested body. They are fertile ground for pleasure to be reborn. Now, There's a simple yet often ignored practice that changes everything: mindful chewing. Digestion begins in the mouth. Chewing well improves nutrient absorption and sends signals to the brain of satiety and satisfaction. But more than that, chewing calmly activates the parasympathetic nervous system, responsible for relaxation and sexual arousal. Eating in a hurry, standing up, with the cell phone in hand, robs us of pleasure. Eating with presence. It rekindles the connection with the body. And speaking of body, we can't forget hydration. Water is critical for the brain's electrical conduction. A dehydrated brain is slower, messier, and more vulnerable to craving drop. Drinking water frequently, and not just when thirsty, is a simple gesture that has immediate effects on mental clarity and physical disposition. A good marker. Observe the color of the urine. The lighter it is, the better its hydration. The darker, the more the brain suffers. Another decisive point: the intestine. Today, it is already known that there is a direct axis between the intestine and the brain, called the intestine-brain axis. What happens in the gut microbiota interferes with the production of neurotransmitters such as serotonin and dopamine. And here fermented foods come in: natural yogurt, kefir, kombucha, sauerkraut. They feed the good bacteria in the gut, which in turn improve mood, reasoning, and sex drive. Taking care of the intestine is taking care of the brain. And taking care of the brain is taking care of your libido. Finally, there is something that no medicine, supplement, or diet replaces: affection. Relate, talk, laugh, touch, feel useful. All of this releases oxytocin and serotonin, hormones of connection and well-being. Loneliness is one of the biggest poisons for the brain in old age, not just emotionally, but chemically. Being close to someone, even if only for a walk or sharing a coffee, is a silent vitamin that the brain recognizes. And he answers, "You can get started today. It does not need radical changes. Small adjustments work miracles. A different food, one more step in the backyard, an extra glass of water, a conversation, a song, one touch." The brain at 60 is not dying. He is waiting for you to decide to light it again. Because the flame of the mind and desire has no expiration date. She just needs the right nourishment, continuous movement, and true affection. And the libido? She lives in the same place as her most cherished memory. You just have to blow the dust, and it comes back to life. And if this content helps you, share it with someone who also deserves to feel alive again. End.